Welcome to the Volunteer Youth Worker Podcast. Youth ministries rise and fall on the volunteers, so we are here to encourage and equip you. Join the conversation as we tackle the practical questions you are asking so you can help the next generation know Jesus.
Hey everyone, episode 214 of the Volunteer Youth Worker Podcast. We're back. This is Sid. This is Jeremy. And Sid, I've got a practical question for you that you're going to answer.
That's odd. I didn't know. It's shocking to me, Jerry, that you'd have a practical question for me.
It's our jam. When we talk to volunteer youth workers, the things they want to know are honestly some of the most practical answers to the most practical questions. Answers to the most practical questions. Okay, so this one is, as people know from the title, how do I deal with a disruptive student in my small group? So anybody that's led a small group for more than 1 week discovers, there's going to be disruptive experiences. Sometimes it's the same student over and over again. Sometimes it's a new experience. It's a different kid each week. But the expectation of we're going to sit in a circle, talk about our feelings, talk about Jesus, and everything's going to go real groovy. Quickly that image falls apart once you get to reality for many people.
And Jared, let me just say this too, just thinking about this, and we've referenced this kind of idea a lot in our podcast, but the better, the more effective you are as a volunteer small group leader, the more difficult or messy sometimes your ministry can become because people feel safe. And to some degree, that could be the case in your small group too. The more safe of a person you are and community you create, the more willing kids are to just kind of unload in that space because they don't have to put up pretenses and who knows what's going on. So there is an angle, Jerry, even on this conversation, where because you've been effective, your ministry has been effective, kids aren't as what's the word I'm looking for, but they're not as guarded in terms of how they're behaving. They're just a little bit more free. And so you're whoa, okay, now we're dealing with other stuff I didn't think about, but let's try to create space that's going to make this the most effective time that we can together. So I think there's lots of ways to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to give redemption, a redemptive tone to it, but sometimes I just remember Ricky and taking the Jones soda bottle in group and just smashing it because I don't know.
Ricky was a problem, dude. Ricky was man, he was messing with you, Ricky.
I
come
know,
on, Ricky.
Man, I took him out. I talked to his parents, and I'm why does he continue to be disruptive? So what are we supposed to do when we find a Ricky, when we find whoever, the person, volunteers that are listening, you've got somebody when that situation arises,
in their mind
happens?
Already. Right now,
Doesn't
that
take
person
long.
is in their mind. No, I got it. Yeah, we're there. Cool. Awesome,
awesome. You're the expert. So
okay.
What do we do? Yeah.
Oh, great. So, Jared, we create
no more empathy. Come to the response.
Start praying now. Pray now. Which, by the way, hey, first response as followers of Christ we have is to pray. So let's just make sure. I know that we do that. I don't want to assume on it. I just want to put it right there. Get really specific in your prayers over a kid that's driving you nuts. And one of the things that was fascinating to me, Jared, is when I would start praying for them, I wouldn't only pray for their behavior to change. I would pray for my heart towards them to change, which shockingly could also affect some of the behavior. So,
that's so convicting. You weren't. It was supposed to be practical, not convicting.
I know. I even slid this one in without us even in our pre-plan on where we were going to go with it. But honestly, that is shocking to me how long it takes me to get there. To really stop and go, okay, Lord, and then actually how it changes my whole disposition and positioning towards this. And let me just say this, you guys, our heart, God needs to soften our heart, or else we're not going to stay in it because we're going to get so annoyed. But just consistently staying in it can be one of the most effective elements of healthy mentoring and youth ministry. So just to be clear, this is about us and our role and that sort of thing, as well as it is the experience within our small group. So I just want to put that one out there first. Hey, let's get praying.
That's
let's get
frustrating.
Let's
because
go.
I know, I mean, every youth worker listening, you guys are in prayer for those students. So this is not you, it's me. But I don't pray often for those that cause that disruption in my life. Yeah. And then I actually hold on to when you said that, I'm I get my guard up a bit. Again, nobody listening has their guard up. But when you said that, I got my guard up because I'm I don't want my heart to be soft against these.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm right. They're disruptive. They're ruining the experience. My heart doesn't need to change. So anyways, I'm just letting out my own dirty laundry. Again, nobody listening has their guard up. Nobody listening has avoided prayer for these kids. Okay.
Not even for a minute. Okay, let's dive in here.
Okay,
so Jer, and I know we had some categories when we spoke, so you're going to help direct that a little bit. But here's the first thing that comes to my mind is when I've got a kid that's been a problem, first of all, I try to step back and differentiate. Hey, is this just like annoying behavior that I'm dealing with here, or is it actually inappropriate behavior? And it's important to like understand the difference between those two things because it will affect how directly we address the situation. So quick example on this, if it's annoying, okay, again, and unfortunately, grade 6 junior high guys are always our go-to kind of vision when we think about disruptive behavior, but that's actually not true. This can be broad, much more broadly. But for many of us who are a little older, it takes a little bit more to settle into that space because there's some things that naturally feel funny to them, et cetera, that don't feel as funny as they once did. So I go, hey, is this just like normative to this stage of development and to this, culture that we're finding ourselves in? It's annoying. Great. I'm gonna help get my head and heart right on this one before I address them real clearly. But if it's inappropriate, if it's like a type of joking,
can we just clarify what might be annoying? A good way to test that is to talk with another leader, somebody that's been in ministry a little bit longer. You can send us a note to just say like, hey, is this normal behavior? Because it is always shocking. I mean, this is personal. Just this morning, I'm dropping off my son to school and like he is not interested. He is frustrated. He's got emotions that are large. And I'm like, what is it about our parenting? Everybody else's kids. And then as I'm dropping him off, like another kid's being carted out by the vice principal that's crying. I'm looking in the classes. I'm like, shove my kid in. I'm like, he's in the corner upset. And there's another kid on the floor, like completely disengaged. I'm like, oh, okay. It's not just us. I sent that text to my wife. We're okay. And it's like, oh, this makes us feel maybe better than it should. But the fact that it's actually normative experiences for kids these ages, you have to figure that out. But sometimes it is inappropriate. How do you know if it's inappropriate, Sid?
Yeah, that's so good. Well, first of all, if it's moral or not is a great line. So let me give you a quick example. Hey, we don't do like sexual joking. We don't do bullying. We don't do targeting. Like there's some immoral activities that we immediately go, that's a full stop. That's not who we are going to be in this space. It's actually not who God wants us to be as human beings. And we address that pretty directly. And then there's like inappropriate or annoying. Hey, we're going to have the hard giggles over something and be laughing out loud during our time. Some person's going to poke the person beside them and they're going to react and respond. And that's going to happen when you're trying to sit in a circle, talk about something for longer than 2 minutes with our junior high guys. Someone's going to fart. Welcome to the club. You know what I mean? And that's going to create all sorts of laughter because somehow that is still funny and has always and forevermore been funny, again, for our junior high small group. So I just differentiate between like being really immoral. That's like a baseline. And then there's ways that aren't appropriate in terms of how we treat others. Do you know what I mean? Like again, targeting on our jokes, not being respectful to someone else because that might be set based upon the expectations you have for your environment. So that's the part that I'm trying to work through. And for some of us, let's just be really clear. There are some people who are a little bit more wired to lead a group of younger kids than others. And so, what I find annoying might not drive someone else quite as nuts as me. And it's good for me to just take that into account if I have the option to choose what age group I'm with. It's just not bad to take that into account as well when we're talking about that.
I love that. Okay, so we're thinking about, is this annoying behavior or is it actually inappropriate or immoral behavior? What else do we do when we've got disruptive kids in our group?
Yeah. So then there's a couple of things I don't want to do. I don't want to assume the worst in what's happening with that child, what they're bringing into that space. So I want to try to understand what's maybe behind the behavior, if that makes sense. And there's a couple of ways that I can find out what's going on behind behavior with a young person. Number one, if I'm a volunteer in a ministry and I have a point leader in my ministry, I will go up or to the pastor of my church. If it's like a smaller church where I'm leading the youth ministry, we don't have a specific point leader for the youth ministry, to just say, hey, I'm having this kind of a struggle with a kid in my small group, wondering if there's something going on that I should be aware of, because that can help change my disposition towards that child or how I connect with them even outside of the program moment. I might even want to connect with their parents or guardians and just, and I'd probably start positive if I could, say something like, hey, it's great having Janice in our small group. Really appreciate her. She's got lots of energy. Oh boy. Hey, what are things that I could do that would be most helpful for Janice having a great experience with us? You could start there. or if the behavior starts getting more negative, you might say, hey, I'm just seeing I think it's a little bit more difficult for Janice to be focused when she's in our small group time. Just wanted to make sure if there's something going on at home that I should be aware of that could help me help Janice feel better here or connect here. Is there anything I can, and then if it's much poorer behavior, you might go to a place of like, hey, is there something going on in Jan's life I should be praying about? Because I know she's having a hard time at youth group right now. And I'm just wondering if there's something that might be contributing to that I could be really praying for, or if there's anything you need from me to be helpful for Janice. So what I'm trying to do is I'm doing some research with the parents or guardians, but I'm also positioning myself as an ally for them. And I'm clearly positioning myself in a way that says I am for Janice, even though this is a difficult circumstance that we're dealing with right now. So I'm doing some work with other people to try to get insight on the situation that can help me be more effective in how I respond to it.
Okay. So that's helpful. You're using that perspective to find ways to be for the student. But you also have a group of other students. And so at what point do you make a decision that maybe isn't the best? Like you can't stop everything for that one. There's still 8, 9, 10, totally, whatever other students. How do you know when to draw the line?
Yeah, that's great. So there's a couple of things that I want to do there. First of all, when I'm dealing with behavioral issues in my group, I want to make sure that the student is really clear on what our expectations are for our group time. And sometimes, you guys, we actually haven't clarified expectations for our whole group, and then we haven't re-clarified expectations for specific individuals. So here's one thing that I'll do. I'll take that individual aside before we're heading into small group and just say again to them, hey, Steve, listen, bro, I know that small group isn't always your easiest time, but I just want to say, appreciate you, want you here, but this is who we're going to be when we're here. Okay. And so make sure that he understands what the expectations are. He agrees to the expectations. And so we can clarify that together.
Yeah. So then I would say if you're asking him if he agrees to them, then you have to make sure you ask him, hey, are you in for these? Do you actually want these guidelines or these, this covenant or this just commitment that, we're going to pay attention to each other? Are you in for that? And I've found oftentimes that students are like, yeah, I really want that. And then if I just ask, and again, before the group gathers is the most brilliant time for it.
Totally.
Hey, as we head into this one, in the past, it seems like you've had a challenge, either paying attention or you've had a challenge not being disruptive. Does that sound right to you? Yeah, that sounds really right. I usually have a hard time paying attention. They know, right? Okay, yeah. What do you need? What do you need from me? What do you need from the group? In order for this to work? And when you fall out of alignment with it, what do you want me to do? And it's interesting because a lot of kids are self-aware. They're like, oh, I just get super distracted. I can't pay attention. If you sit me next to my buddy, I'm going to be toast the whole time. You should sit, put me in a corner. They'll give you usually the lot of the steps in order for them to be fully engaged. And part of it is they just don't know. Nobody's actually taught them how to deal with their own monkey mind and their own distraction. And so because of that, they're disruptive. But to get on their team and with them and hey, let's give this a shot and see what happens, a lot of times they're in for it.
Jer, I love the idea of saying, hey, how can I help you with this? What do you need from me to help you with this? Because that so clearly communicates that we're for them. So, and I just want to say this. If you connect with a young person one-on-one to set expectations for their time in a small group, just know that carries quite a bit of weight. So work really hard to position yourself as being heard as for them. Be clear. Do you know what I mean? Be clear on what your expectations are, what this looks like, but you have to work to make sure your emotions are well under control, your disposition is in a good space, because it always carries more weight for that young person than we expect. And if I can just say this too, Jer, we know that connecting with kids outside of program moments is difficult, but boy, does that ever matter for kids who are disruptive in program moments, because then they know you are for them. They are more than just a program to you, and it will change how they respond to you inside those program moments as well. So if you can do that, that's so helpful for what we're trying to experience with our kids.
Yeah. Okay. As we come to a close, give us one last thought, especially when we consider, okay, this isn't working. The group is now coming to you, right? The other students are like, hey, it's not working. Steve is disruptive. We want to go deeper, but we can't because he's constantly taking us away. What do you do when, for the sake of the group, something has to happen with this?
Yeah. And again, I think there's space where we move a young person to a different space or a different group if you have that option in your youth ministry. One person doesn't get to hold the whole youth ministry captive. But before you move a kid, you're going to want to make sure that the guardian or parents are actually a part of that process as well. They're informed with it, and that maybe together you're finding out a way to do it so that a young person doesn't feel like they're a fail in that journey, but that this is actually for them again and not just against them. But yeah, absolutely, there can come a space where we're going to have to make a move and move that child over. And then you're going to want to take enough time in the process to onboard other advocates to help with that, to clarify with that young person why you're doing it, to reaffirm love for them. And but then again, you need to make that decision, for the sake of the whole and for the sake of that young person as well. And all of those things are really important and require, man, some wisdom and commitment. And it's not easy. None of this is easy, but hey, we actually didn't sign up for easy. Jared, the last thing that I would say on that process is stay the course relationally with these kids. Oh boy, leaders, consistently showing up matters so much. And yes, you might have a young person that's disruptive to your small group time. You're going to have to move them out of that. But if you can still consistently, even if it just means when you see them come at youth group, you move towards them positively in that first encounter, which just reaffirms your love for them, even though you've had to make some harder decisions with them, that's going to be really important in terms of that young person's journey. And it's such a dynamic ministry, youth ministry, because kids naturally change and transform. And who a young person is in grade 9 is very different from who a young person is in grade 10. And you look from grade 6 or 7 up to grade 9 or 10, it's categorically different. And so there's, we get to actually see real change happen over the long term. So I just say, Jer, if we can stay in it relationally, there will be normative shifts that will happen that will significantly alter a person's behavior and disposition towards these kinds of times that will result in real fruitful work down the road as well. So, fight to stay in that, you guys.
I love that. All right. How do you deal with disruptive students in your small group? Sid said at the start, think about, is it just annoying or is it actually inappropriate or immoral? Find out. Secondly, you want to go a little bit deeper and find out where this is coming from. So is there a story behind this kind of outburst? You can chat with their family, chat with people around them. And then lastly, you kind of want to figure out, okay, if I'm going to be for them, that's one thing, but I'm also going to need to be for the group. And that might be a little bit different. And in both instances, make sure you're involved in the conversations with your point leader, with the families that might be affected, and obviously pray. I think somewhere along the lines you told me to pray more, which I received that word, Sid.
I'm so thankful, bro. I'm so thankful for this podcast because I'm trying to figure out how to lean in on your prayer life just a little bit. And so if this was the angle I was able to take, let's just thank the Lord for that.
Wonderful. Well, hey, if you're listening, we believe you're probably a volunteer youth worker. That's the whole point of this podcast. And if you are spending time investing in the spiritual journey of some students this week, blessings on you. You really are making an eternal difference. And we are so grateful. If nobody else tells you this week, know that this is important work. Don't let up.
Let's go.